We have multiple new reports the Sixers could be extremely active in the trade market during the 2025 NBA draft. I also have a trade idea that I cooked up that would work wonders for the Sixers come draft night. But first, let's get into the reporting. First from Brian Windhorst this morning on Thursday, May 29th, who said this: some years we expect July 1st to be the big time for offseason activity, but I think the NBA draft will be very big this time. Either pick 2 or pick 3, I think, have a chance to be in play. I don't know what's going to happen with them. Maybe the Sixers will trade up with the Spurs. Maybe the Sixers will trade back. Maybe they'll trade out entirely. That's going to be an interesting night. And look, from everything we've heard from a lot of these NBA insiders, this offseason and this NBA draft with the trade market that could be taking shape could be one of the craziest we have seen in the NBA in quite a while. Shams said the other day on the Pat McAfee show, this could be the craziest offseason we have seen in a very long time. So it's really tough to know what the Sixers could end up doing with that third overall pick. But we also have heard some more reporting from the likes of Jake Fischer and Marc Stein. The Sixers wouldn't want to entirely trade out of the pick. Here's Jake Fischer. League sources tell the Stein line, the Sixers are expected to at least listen to trade down opportunities, but likewise stress they are not expected to trade out of the pick entirely. And then Marc Stein as well, adding on, if there is a trade in Philadelphia's future involving the number 3 pick, do not expect the Sixers to move down very far on the 2025 draft board. League sources maintain the Sixers are determined to add a dynamic young talent to their core after the tremendous fortune they enjoyed in the May 12th draft lottery. Look, I'll say this. We are right now in full-on smokescreen season, okay? We're going to hear over the next month a lot of different reports saying a lot of different things when it comes to the Sixers and the NBA draft and all these other teams. No team wants to show their hands and show their cards and let other teams know what direction they're going in and what strategy they are employing for the draft. It's really a whole lot of cummerbund out here that we're getting from all these different reporters. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's true or what's not. But I'll tell you this right now, it does make sense the Sixers would at least listen to a lot of these offers because those top number 2, number 3 picks going to be active in some potential trade talks. Now, me personally, and I've said this on the show quite a lot, and I want to make sure people know this because I see the comments like, why would you ever want to do this and trade away the pick? My number 1 option is still to stay at number 3 and to draft Ace Bailey. If I was running the team, that is what I would do, the direction I would want to go in. But I do understand, one, there's so many different possibilities that the Sixers can decide to go in, so many different directions they can decide to go in. It's not just one lane and that's it. So that's why I like to explore all these different options. And with all the reports that we're hearing that there's going to be a lot of teams calling for number 3, there is a chance they trade the pick. So naturally, I've done some due diligence, done some digging, and I've found a move where the Sixers trade down a couple times. It really turns into a big 3-team deal that I'll get into that, man, I think I could really be on board with if this is the way the Sixers want to go. They decide, you know what, let's try to move down the board a little bit and pick up some more win-now pieces while still also acquiring a young player somewhere within the top 10. So we'll get into that move in just a second. But first, we are closing in on a big milestone here on the channel. Just 18 subs away from 22,000 subscribers. If you're looking for a place for Sixers coverage and Sixers content all throughout the year, I encourage you, hit that sub button. Appreciate all the real ones who have gotten us this far so far. All right, so here is my trade down idea. And it looks like a lot, I know, but let me explain it to you and walk you through it here. So in this 3-team deal, the Sixers are giving up Paul George, Eric Gordon, the 3rd overall pick, the swap rights for the Clippers 2029 first-round pick, Kelly Oubre, and then the 2028 Clippers unprotected first-round pick. That's everything Philadelphia is giving up. In the trade, they are bringing in Lauri Markkanen and Herb Jones and still getting the number 7 overall pick. Utah in this deal receives Paul George, Eric Gordon. They move up from number 5 to number 3, and then they get those 2029 Clippers swap rights. The Pelicans giving up Herb Jones. They get Kelly Oubre, KJ Martin from Utah. the 5th overall pick, so they trade up from 7 to 5, and then they get that 2028 Clippers first from the Sixers. So a lot of moving pieces, but Philly walking out of here with 2 high-level players and moving down from number 3 to number 7, where you can still get a pretty good player in the draft, a pretty good young, talented player there, which we know they still want to acquire a talented young prospect. Well, I think each team will do this, and I'll walk through this for each team and make sure that you all see the vision right now, because I can see the comments right now. A lot of people are probably freaking out over all the picks the Sixers are giving up and all the different pieces that are moving in this deal. Why I think Philly does this, though, you're adding 2 high-level players in Lauri Markkanen, who was an all-star level player. No doubt he had a down season last year, but man, he is a stud. And Herb Jones, one of the best defenders in the entire NBA. We'll dive into each of those guys a little more in a second, but you're able to add 2 high-quality starters that I think would really increase where this team is at right now and help them compete right away, while also keeping a high draft pick at that number 7 selection with a chance to add still a talented young player, and you get off the Paul George deal all in one trade. I get you're giving up some future draft capital, but I think it's worth it for players like Lauri Markkanen and Herb Jones. And look, for Lauri, had a down year this past season, but his first couple of years in Utah were absolutely tremendous, scoring over 20 a game and being efficient from the field. He fits in perfectly at that 4 spot for Philadelphia. He can play the 4, he can play the 3, and yes, the contract is large, but it's nowhere near as bad as Paul George's, especially you consider Lauri Markkanen will only be 31 years old by the end of the deal. So you're getting a player in Lauri Markkanen absolutely in his prime right now, who with his skill set could absolutely be worth that deal. Now, does have some injury concerns, but a lot of phantom injuries that he gets at the end of the year playing in Utah, so I'm not super worried about those. And with his size at about 6'10", 6'11", not going to be a great defender, but offensively really has it all from everywhere around the floor, and Sixers could really use someone like that playing at that 4 spot, just an uber talented player. And then Herb Jones as well, man. I think the reason some people might not like this deal is because they don't know fully the kind of player Herb Jones is and what he's capable of. Because sure, the numbers, the box score numbers don't always look great. Outside of 2023, 2024, hasn't been a great three-point shooter and obviously doesn't put up a ton of points or rebounds or anything like that. But, man, it goes way beyond the box score. When you're talking about a player like Herb Jones, well, you do see the steal numbers there. That is what he does on the defensive end of the floor, and an extremely affordable player as well over these next 2 years, making just about around $14 to $15 million. And again, we're talking about one of the best defenders in the entire NBA along the perimeter. And again, for those of you, you're not watching Pelicans games all the time, might not be too familiar with his game, but look, he dealt with a lot of injuries this past year. But as I had mentioned, in 2023, 2024, he shot 40% from 3. He showed a growing offensive game. And when it comes playoff time, I think he can kind of be a Lou Dort kind of piece for this team, who I actually think can be better than Lou Dort is for the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are making a run to the NBA Finals as we speak. So adding a defender of that caliber, while also a guy that's growing offensively, still very, very young, at about 24, 25 years old, I believe, man, adding those 2 guys is just truly invaluable and 100% worth it, in my opinion, for giving up a couple pretty good picks. Now, of course, I think it's great for the Sixers. But with Utah, with New Orleans, think about doing a deal like this. The reason I think Utah would have to consider this type of trade, they obviously got unlucky on draft night. They fell from having the best odds to land the number 1 pick all the way to pick number 5. And I think they're still years away from competing. They have a ton of young guys on that team, but not a lot of talented young guys. It's just they've thrown a lot of darts at the board, but how many of them are sticking so far? I don't really think a whole lot. So they're able to trade up from 5 to 3 in this scenario and a chance to draft Ace Bailey, who we've talked about Ace Bailey as that super high upside guy. Utah needs somebody like that, especially on the wing, who can just maybe be that franchise level player for them. They eat the Paul George deal for now. Look, you can figure out what to do with that at some point, but again, they're not going to be competing these next few years. So let that money sit on the books while you develop some of these players. When the contract for Paul George expires in about 3 years, that's when some of your guys will really be ready to start competing. Your Walker Kesslers, your Keontae Georges, your Isaiah Colliers, Cody Williams, and then maybe Ace Bailey as well. That's why I think they'd be fine taking on that large salary to move up a couple spots. And then New Orleans, I think this is really where you have to try to convince them to be willing to move on from Herb Jones because, I'm talking so highly about him, about being this great defender who showed flashes of being an elite 3-and-D player in this league who's still young on a great contract. Why do they want to trade him, right? Well, for starters, they are pretty loaded at that wing spot. You obviously still have Zion on the team, and they recently came out and said they are committed to Zion Williamson. They had him represent the Pelicans at the NBA draft lottery. They just paid Trey Murphy as well along that wing. They have a player like Jordan Hawkins, another young guy, and they could certainly take another wing in this draft. With him only having 2 years left on his deal, coming off an injury-plagued season, his value is still very, very high, right? So you bring in a more durable player in this case, like Kelly Oubre. You also get KJ Martin. I mean, we know him well here from the Utah Jazz, and you get that super valuable 2028 Clippers pick, which you can then use in maybe a future deal to add different talent on this team because the core they have now just really has not been working out with injuries and just poor play as a whole. So with all the noise, the Sixers could be looking to trade down in the draft. This is the kind of framework I would like to see, getting two super high-end starters, Lauri Markkanen, an all-star level player, and still keeping a pick in the top 10. So would you make this move? Give me an A for accept or a D for decline. Now, at that number 7 pick, what should the Sixers do if they do trade down? Obviously, I want to talk about that as well. In my sort of mock draft with these trades, I got Flag going 1, Harper going 2. As I mentioned, Utah going Ace Bailey at 3. VJ Edgecombe going 4 to the Hornets. I had the Pelicans going Trey Johnson, trading up for him at number 5. And then Washington taking Jeremiah Fears at number 6. So who would the Sixers in this scenario select? I'll get to that here in a second. But we have a new sale on a new Fanatics item that I want to tell you guys about. Obviously, baseball season is in full swing. The Phillies are off to a hot start currently. The best record in all of baseball. And this Sixers baseball jersey, I saw this, and look, even if you don't like the Sixers, it's kind of a sweet jersey right here, man. You can't lie. You got to be honest. And it's 50% off right now on Fanatics if you go to chatsports.com/76baseball. It's on clearance, but it's not going to be available for that long with that great sale. So take advantage while you still can. I'll have that link in the comment section and description of the video. Again, that is chatsports.com/76baseball. 50% off this 76ers baseball jersey. So my options at number 7, Con Knuppel, Kaman Malawach, Derek Queen, Noah Sengwe, Carter Bryant. We'll talk about all these guys really quickly, but I think for me, with the way that this trade has kind of been formulated, where you're bringing in 2 win-now options and Lauri Markkanen and Herb Jones, why not continue this win-now mindset and bring in a guy like Con Knuppel? I think he might be one of the more NBA-ready guys in this draft. He's going to fit in so well in the Sixers offense where, look, he's deadly on catch and shoots from the outside, but he can also be a good secondary playmaker. I think he gets too much hate for being only a shooter. He's so much more than that. He can really run the pick and roll. He did that great with Kaman Malawach at Duke. He's going to struggle on the defensive end, no doubt, but he is ready to play right away and adds a shooting element the Sixers desperately need on this team. Now, of course, we have the center options as well, like a Kaman Malawach. I doubt the Sixers would go this route, and it's not the route I would go either if I'm trading back. But if you are really concerned about Joel Embiid and his health and his future, out of the 2 center prospects, I like Malawach a little bit better. More raw, especially offensively, but has a lot of tools on the defensive end of the floor that you hope can project. And he shoots well at the free throw line, could have a 3-point jumper in there. Then you have Derek Queen, the other big man in this draft. Obviously, a very versatile offensive skill set, similar to the Malawach conversation. If you do want to replenish that center spot, but you want someone who kind of in the mold of an Alfred Sengun, that could certainly be an option there. Also, you have Noah Sengwe. This is kind of a late riser here in the NBA draft process. Someone who, this is a little bit more of a project, who is playing over in Germany right now, but he has showed a lot of very interesting tools with that 3-point shot. He can handle it a little bit. Very good off the ball, though. So this is, again, more of a project pick. That's why I wouldn't go this right at number 7. Kind of similar conversation with Carter Bryant out of Arizona. Sort of that more prototypical 3-and-D wing who's super, super young. Didn't have a ton of production at Arizona, but when you look at the kind of player he is, the mold he's in, that 3-and-D wing, very, very young, could be an option for Philadelphia. And a quick shout out as well to Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joe's, another player. 7's a bit rich for me. Same kind of case for Carter Bryant, Noah Sengway, but another player that when you talk about 3-and-D, he's about 6'8", 6'9". He's strong. He can hit that 3 ball. He can defend on the perimeter. There's the kind of guys that winning basketball teams are looking for. So this is what the potential roster would be looking like. You, of course, have Maxey. You would have enough money in this case. Sixers actually save money in that deal I proposed. So you'd have enough money to bring back Quentin Grimes and Gershon Yabusele. You start Herb Jones at the 3, Lauri Markkanen at the 4, Joel Embiid at the 5. If healthy, that is a tremendous starting 5. You have a great balance of scoring, of outside shooting, of defense, rebounding with Embiid down there. Markkanen can crash the glass a little bit as well. Then off the bench, you still have Butler. You still have Jared McCain, of course, to come off and be that 6th man. You draft Canupa, like I said. You have some great wings off the bench in Canupa and Justin Edwards. Still have Ricky Council. You're able to bring back Gershon, as I mentioned. Still have Drummond down there and Bona. I'd like another guard in here at some point, but there's other moves that can be made. But look, bringing in those two and Lauri and Herb Jones would really round out this starting 5. And I think is a move that if you are trading down, the Sixers should strongly, strongly consider. So, be Daryl Morey for me. Pretend you are running the 76ers and their player operations. Would you trade down in this NBA draft, or would you rather stick and pick at number 3? Give me a T for trade down or an S for stick and pick. Regardless of what you think might happen, look, it's going to be a busy, busy offseason, as we know, around the NBA and for the Sixers. So make sure you do not miss a thing. Hit that sub button for the best 76ers coverage you will find on YouTube.